You're watching Inside the Zone.
As they say, time flies when you're having fun, and apparently we got 15 weeks of football in because Thanksgiving's over and we got a state champion.
We do, and at the when the dust settled, we had a state title, state champion, like you mentioned. So, congratulations, Bishop Dwenger.
He's Justin Kinney. I'm Glenn Marini. Our last show of the year, and Justin, if you'd have been talking, 15 weeks ago and said, "All right, we're going to send two teams to state, and Bishop Dwenger's going to win a state championship," would you think that's crazy if we'd have called that before the season? Because last year was so odd with us sending 4 teams to state, but one team did win a state championship in Adams Central. As they moved up to 2A, it's like maybe we should hold off on our predictions until very deep in the season.
Yeah, when you look at Bishop Dwenger, maybe not maybe not shocking, but how we saw Bishop Dwenger's season end a year ago on their home field, 38-0 to East Noble. If you would have told me they were going to be able to turn that around and go from losing that badly to getting down to state and winning a championship, probably a little surprising, but credit to Jason Garrett and his staff, put the offseason work in, made some adjustments, and then rode a great season with not only a state championship, an SAC championship as well. So you combine those two, I think it's pretty surprising.
All right, let's take a look at that 4A championship game on Saturday afternoon down in Indianapolis as you take on Roncalli if you're the Bishop Dwenger Saints. It's a team you played. It was 3-0 in week 1. This was not that game.
It was not that game.
A repeat of the game.
It was not. I think we felt like, okay, there's going to be a little bit more points scored in this game, but did we think it was going to be to the level we saw? And the same thing with, Lucas Nguyen. Okay, we know he's a factor in kicking the ball. Little did we know he could also throw the football
on the run
as well,
left-handed.
And then the clutch interception by George Hackman to seal it. So just an all-around very impressive performance in all 3 facets. And we said the key in this game was going to be special teams. We didn't necessarily think it was going to be Lucas Nguyen throwing a touchdown pass, but we felt like that was going to be a big difference. It turned out to be that. And then I thought Henry Jordan played phenomenal. Over 200 some yards of total offense for him. So just a complete performance out of Bishop Dwenger.
Here's the one thing that really shocks me is if you would have told me that before the game that Bishop Dwenger's defense would give up 235 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground, I'd be like, it's going to be a tough day for Bishop Dwenger. But yet they answered the bell, and to your credit, you mentioned Henry Jordan, 15 to 26, $183, a touchdown in the air. But the thing that stuck out to me most, he hit 8 different receivers in those 15 completions.
And that's maybe a big thing, and for Bishop Dwenger that's been like this for so long is there's no star. There's no series of stars. Occasionally they have really great players, but it's just by committee, right? You look at even the running backs. You had Gus Tippmann go out early in the season, lost for the season. You looked at Houston Ellinger stepping up. You looked at A.J. Shefferly stepping up, guys like that in the offensive backfield. And then same thing at wide receiver. If it wasn't Beckham Russell, it was other dudes. So it was by committee, and even on the biggest stage down in Indianapolis, it was the same thing.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking that same thing too. I'm like, who's the dude? Like,
right?
When Dwenger sent teams down, you thought of Ramon Wright and Tony Springman and Tyler
John
Eifert.
Goodman, and
when they won in 2018, it was like Joe Tippmann. Yes, TJ Tippmann got the touchdown, but it was Joe Tippmann leading the way. He's starting in the NFL right now. They had Vinny Fiacable, they had Luke Wigington on that offensive line.
Yeah.
Like 2 other Big Ten players right there. Not to say that this is a faceless team, but go through the litany of guys that have stepped up. Nguyen, Jordan, as you mentioned,
Ellinger.
Ellinger. There's just not one dude. It is we'll make it up in the aggregate,
you love it.
I love to say that from Moneyball. We'll make it up in the aggregate, and Dwenger did that, and that is a total team win.
And you see it reflected maybe in all conference teams and postseason teams and preseason teams, right? We talk so much about individual talent, and yes, it does propel some teams, but then you look at these teams that, hey, they don't have no stars, or they have very little stars, but they play really well together, and they come together, and they stay relatively healthy, and those are the things that matter. And some of the best teams we've seen at Bishop Dwenger, and even Snyder, are some of those faceless teams that maybe have 1, maybe 2 Division I guys, but there's no studs, and I think this is Exhibit A for Bishop Dwenger. It's not a knock on that roster. It's just the fact that everybody came together as a collective and got it done.
And back-to-back 6-6 seasons. I know they were disappointed at the end of last season. They weren't healthy, and it showed on the football field. But back-to-back 6-6 seasons to go down and go 13-2, pretty impressive from the Bishop Dwenger Saints. And you take a look at this team. The one thing that really stuck out to me was how many seniors they had. You know, at the beginning, I believe it was 30 plus seniors, biggest senior class in Bishop Dwenger football history, and that's a pretty good history.
Yeah, a little bit. And that was huge throughout the season. We mentioned so many names over the last couple minutes, and it's senior, right? So a lot of those guys just coming together. And you mentioned health, staying healthy. Yeah, they lost Gus Tippmann, but it was very few of those type situations throughout the season. And then just getting it done when you needed to. And it all came about with that win over Roncalli. You start the season with a loss. You get shut out right in that game. And you come up back and you scored 30-plus points on that very same team to win a state title.
All right, Josh Ayen was there down in Indianapolis on Saturday, and here's his story as he looks back at that 4A title game.
Well, 3 months ago, all the way back in late August, Bishop Dwenger marching down to Indianapolis to open their season against Roncalli. It just so happens the Saints, their season comes full circle with a return trip to the Circle City. Yeah, for the first time since 2018, the Saints marching down to the state finals, and they get another crack against the Roncalli Royals after losing 3-0 in their regular season opener. With that, let's take you to Lucas Oil Stadium. Bishop Dwenger looking for their 6th state title in program history. The Royals going for their 11th in school history. But early on, this one turned out to be a disastrous start for Dwenger as Colin Ash capped off Roncalli's opening drive with a touchdown, and the Royals take a 7-0 lead. Dwenger, though, able to chip into that deficit on their first drive. This is Lucas Nguyen, the Asian sniper from short range, to make it a 7-3 game, and it just so happens that turns out to be your score through one quarter. Let's go to the second quarter now. Bishop Dwenger taking advantage of a short field, and what a dime by Henry Jordan. Jordan hooking up with Max Jordan. 22-yard touchdown as the Saints take their first lead of the game, 10-7. But Roncalli able to answer back on their next drive. It is Ash, this time to Luke Rader, and Rader romping his way in from 79 yards out to put the Royals back in front, 14-10. Now just when it looks like Roncalli's about to take control, oh baby, Dwenger's defense stepping up big time. It's Jordan Fabini with a fumble recovery just before he goes out of bounds, and the Saints offense is able to cash in. Ensuing drive, Jordan calling his own number for the touchdown. Jordan balling out in his final high school game, over 250 yards of total offense. PAT no good after that score as the Saints only up 16-14. But just before halftime, Roncalli able to strike again. It is Colin Ash once again, and Roncalli taking a 21-16 lead at halftime. Already a bunch of lead changes in this one, and buckle up because this one is far from finished. Third quarter, opening drive for the Saints, and it is Gus Tippmann going up the gut from 15 yards out. Bishop Dwenger regains the lead 22-21 after a failed 2-point conversion. But here comes Roncalli again. It's Alex Jarvis, this time with a touchdown. Royals also converting a 2-point conversion to make it a 29-22 lead heading into the fourth quarter. Saints marching downfield, and Dwenger able to cap off this drive with another touchdown for Tippmann, his second of the night, and this game is tied at 29 apiece. Now Dwenger's defense is able to force a punt, and the Saints do get the ball back in Roncalli territory, but just when you think they've got to settle for a field goal, think again, because Nguyen, the Asian sniper, showing off the arm this time. It's a fake, and Nguyen finding A.J. Shefferly for a 37-yard touchdown, and the Saints regain the lead 36-29. Dwenger's defense, you know what, it's been carrying this team all season, and it's just so fitting with the state championship on the line. It's the defense coming up one last time. Final play of the game, 1 second on the clock. Carter Zent with a tip ball interception, and that seals the deal. Bishop Dwenger, your 4A state champion, with a 36-29 win over Roncalli in what goes down as an instant classic.
I'm just trying to take it all in. It'll probably hit me tomorrow and, the next couple of days, but, I mean, this is what we asked, or this is what we came here for, and this is what we manifested. After we lost to them first game, we told ourselves in the locker room, we'll see them later in the season, and we did.
First, I was kind of worried that I crossed the line of scrimmage, but looking back, I did it perfectly. I was definitely thankful that we practiced it so much, and because I didn't have to worry in game, I just got it done.
We're a team. Unity, trust, toughness. Hey, we're a team. We do everything together. We have brotherly love. We're gritty. We have the best bond in the state. That's why we're state championships.
All three facets. It's these seniors, man. I'm just so proud of them. They wanted to run it. Defense locked in at the end when we needed them, and just a great day.
Bishop Dwenger ending their season with a 13-2 record and their 6th state title in program history.
All right, so that was Saturday down in Indianapolis. Let's transition and we'll get the Wayback Machine to go back to Friday at 3 o'clock. Bishop Luers taking on a Cascade team, and we talked about it last week. This is a Cascade team that can score the football, an offense that came in averaging almost 55 points a game. And Luers played them fairly equal for the final 3 quarters of the game. But when you trail 19-0 after the first quarter, that was just too much for Bishop Luers to overcome.
It was, and you can practice and prepare for a no-huddle wing tee style that Cascade plays, but until you see it and you have to catch up with it and adjust to it, it's something altogether different. And that's what took Bishop Luers time to adjust. A better part of a quarter, but they find themselves down 19-0. And Bishop Luers, while very good, it's not a team this year built to score a lot of points quickly. And that's a rarity for Bishop Luers, right? So many playmakers.
Yeah.
But this year, it just wasn't that team to be down 19-0 and say, okay, we have the firepower to come back. And they did give it a great shot. They got to within 19-7. They're going in for a touchdown. They fumble the ball. That was key. And after that, they just really weren't able to get close enough. So Cascade, I think, just really came out, punched Bishop Luers in the mouth. By the time Bishop Luers gathered itself defensively and started posting some really good defensive numbers, it was just too late.
Yeah, and you take a look at what Cascade does. We talked about how balanced they were. 3 rushes at about 1,000 yards, thrown for 2,000 yards, really efficient in the pass game. They didn't pass a whole lot against Bishop Luers, but they ran it for 293 yards, 5.7 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, Luers, we haven't seen teams be able to run on Luers, and Cascade was able to do that to a certain degree on Friday afternoon.
Especially early, and Bishop Luers was really able to settle in. But up the middle, it never was open for Cascade, except occasionally. But getting around to the edges, sealing the edges with their line and getting key blocks and turning the corner, I think it was just enough, even after that first quarter, that Cascade was able to move the ball and score some points. And conversely, Bishop Luers offensively, I thought Tommy Reichert played a really solid game. He missed a couple throws, but also was let down with a couple drops. There's that key fumble that was huge when the game was, 19-7, I believe, at the time. So that was huge. And it was a great effort by Bishop Luers. It's not easy to play up against a style that Cascade was able to deploy. And I thought Bishop Luers played a tremendous football game. It just... they'd love to have those first 15 minutes back. 12 minutes, excuse me.
Yeah, offensive skill-wise, you get a lot of these dudes back. A lot of them are sophomores. Tommy Reichert, we saw him improve over the course of the season. Your quarterback will be a junior next year. Epperson, Gaither, both going to be juniors next season. Gaither went for 99 yards. Epperson, 94 and 2 touchdowns. So they were able to run the football with that youth. It bodes well next year. The flip side of that is you're going to be playing up in 4A next year after back-to-back trips, and the success factor, it moves you up from 3A to 4A, whereas by enrollment, they're a 2A school.
Yeah, let's talk strictly facts here, right? Bishop Luers has won 12 state titles as a program. All 12 of them have come in 2A. They went to state back-to-back years in 3A, right? Didn't win either one of them. Now they go up 2 spots to 4A, and it gets that much more difficult. We saw Cathedral, right, jump from 4A to 5A to 6A, and then it was just a bit too much, and then they slowly drop back down. So Bishop Luers has a huge challenge in front of it because we know how deep, even just in this area, Class 4A is. So the benefit to us is, hey, we get to see a potential Dwenger-Luers postseason matchup for the first time. But this is uncharted territory for Bishop Luers, for a team that was still searching for its first 3A championship, now getting bumped up 2 classes.
I think the biggest jump from classes is obviously 5A to 6A because there's no cap on attendance numbers. I mean, schools of 4,000 to 5,000 in the city of Indianapolis, playing schools of 2,500 if you move up, especially if you're a Snyder or somebody like that on the small side or on the large side of 5A, the small side of 6A when you do move up because of success factor. But I think the second biggest jump might be 3A to 4A.
No, I agree, and especially with like we mentioned, the depth that we have in this area in Class 4A. We saw Bishop Luers go to Leo to open the season and largely got handled in that game, particularly with that offense only able to score a single touchdown. You're looking at Leo, you're looking at East Noble, you're looking at Dwenger, you're looking at a rising DeKalb. You have an always threatening Columbia City team. You throw Wayne in there, right? You throw potentially Southside in there. Does Northside drop from 5A to 4A? Does Southside bump? So there's all these possibilities, and that's just locally, right? Then you have to face, Mishawaka's lurking in 4A, Northwood's always lurking in 4A. So there's just a lot more challenges for Bishop Luers than in 2A or 3A.
Yeah. So when you take a look at this Bishop Luers team, again, played really well for 3 quarters. They'd like to have that first quarter back. Josh Aiden was down in Indianapolis on Friday and recaps that Luers game against Cascade.
Trailing 19-0 at the end of the first quarter, things were looking really bleak for Bishop Luers in this game. But hey, credit to Kyle Lindsey's crew for their resiliency, their ability to battle back and cut this deficit down to 1 score in the fourth quarter. And that never say die attitude, that is what Coach Lindsey hopes his team can look back on once the emotions settle from this game.
We were feeling hope. We're a really tough team. Our coaches coach us to be resilient and face adversity. So, we were just ready and we were going to play it like the score was 0-0. And I love these guys. They're so great, and we hold each other accountable. We push each other to be great, and I feel like that brotherly love is what kept us in this game. I'm super proud of everybody. We fight, we keep going, and not a lot of people get to be here, so we're blessed. It's all God's will for us to be here, and even though we didn't get what we wanted, you really can't be that mad at the situation.
Their ability to just stick together and to, like we talk about all the time, just focus on the next rep. You have to put the last rep behind you. Whether it went well, it didn't go well. You can control what you can control. That's been a message that we've really encouraged the kids, communicated the kids since most of them were freshmen with us. So, yeah, it stinks whenever you get here and you lose, but the journey is more than half the enjoyment of this game. What it took to get here, and I like I said, I couldn't be prouder of a group of kids, 9 through 12, but in particular the senior bunch.
Bishop Luers ends their season with a 9-6 record and is Class 3A state runner-up for a second straight season. And because of their ability to get to Lucas Oil for back-to-back years, the Knights are actually going to move up to Class 4A starting next season. From Lucas Oil Stadium, I'm Josh Ayan with Wayne 15 Sports.
All right, transitioning from the 2 state championship games now to individual awards here on Inside the Zone. Taking a look back at the entirety of the season, who do you think was the best player? I would say the MVP. I think that's a different discussion.
It is,
best
yeah.
player versus MVP.
Yeah.
But in your estimation, player of the year, MVP, however you look at it, how do you see this playing out, and who really stuck out to you when it comes to individual play here in 2025?
I approach player of the year and MVP differently, so I'll take the player of the year, the best player in the area for this season. For me, is Jaden Van Pelt out of Carroll. I felt like there was no answer to him the entire season. Every week that he was on the field, he was impacting the game, not just on offense. This kid played corner for Carroll. He was one of their top defenders. He would often get the assignment on a team's number 1 receiver, and no matter what defenses did, they bracket him. They would drop multiple guys in coverage. They would jam it. Nothing worked on Jaden Van Pelt. For me, he's my player of the year.
I love the fact that you mentioned his defensive effort, because he had 3 picks, a nice one against Homestead, and you take a look at what he was able to do offensively: 69 catches, 1,407 yards, 17 total touchdowns, and he missed the first game.
Yeah, he didn't play in the game.
Yeah.
The game. And then another game he was largely limited against Northrop in the playoffs. So just what he was able to do just was astounding. He did it against everybody. There was no week in which, other than when he wasn't on the field or injured, that Jaden Van Pelt wasn't a big contributor. And even in that Northrop game, the Bruins focused so much on him that in the playoff game that he impacted the game without being completely healthy because Carroll was able to run the ball all over Northrop. So, yeah, for me, so many great individual talents this year, but Jaden Van Pelt is my guy.
I was thinking the same thing, and Jamison Roach was right up there with me when you take a look at his MVP because I love what he did on defense. He was fourth on that team in tackles at the quarterback position. He rushed for 23 touchdowns, and he threw for over 1,000 yards, and we know that Adams Central had a 27-game winning streak before they headed up to Andre. And who else would be in your discussion for Player of the Year here in Northeast Indiana?
Well, I think you got to put Jaquaden Guilford in there. I think you have to put David Callison in there too, being what Northrop was able to do. And it's tough to look with the success having with one without the other. And so I'd put both in that conversation. If we talk MVP, most valuable, I think Hawk Hasselman has to be up there. He's probably my pick for the most valuable player for any individual team this year out of Angola. So, yeah, Hawk was tremendous this year.
I had Callison in there because, I mean, we knew what – I would say Quay is the best player in Northeast Indiana as far as potential, as far as ability. 6'3". We saw what he could do on defense. They used him in the run game this year. I mean, the versatility. There's a reason if you're a wide receiver and you're going to Ohio State,
there's a reason
that you're going to be with the Buckeyes. It's like an NFL factory. So, like, he's really, really, really good. But they had Weil and they had Quay last year. And when Callison got hurt, it nullified that. So the value of Callison, who threw for just under 3,000 yards last year, I don't think can be understated.
Right. And I think a key thing is look, the best football player at the high school level isn't always the highest ranked recruit, right? Because some people will say, well, it's easy. The best player in the area this year was Jaquaden Guilford because he's the highest ranked receiver or highest ranked player and he's going to Ohio State. That's simple thinking and it's not always right, right? So for me, it was Jaden Van Pelt. For you, it was Jaden Van Pelt. You know, Nathan Foster has to be in the conversation, I think, for both Player of the Year and MVP in terms of what he meant for Leo. So a lot of dudes, but Hawk Hasselman, my MVP, Jaden Van Pelt, my Player of the Year.
I would throw Jaron Taylor in the discussion of like the top 5 guys. And also, here's the sleeper for me, Joe Richmond.
Okay, I mean, MVP.
Rushed for 1,700 yards, threw for 1,300 yards, 3,000 yards of total offense. It's pretty good, and he's coming back next year.
Yeah, which is scary for the NECC, but great news for Butler.
Laban Davis Part 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's a huge guy coming back. We mentioned so many dudes that are seniors. That's one of the ones that will be coming back next year.
All right, let's take a look at Coach of the Year. I think, a lot of times you think of Coach of the Year as a team that you didn't think was going to be all that good, and then they got a lot better and they overperformed what we thought maybe at the beginning of the season. This one, when you take a look at there's one state champion in the area, it makes it an easier decision.
Too simple, right?
Yeah, it makes it a little bit of an easier decision, I would think.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. When you're coming off a pair of 6-6 seasons, and you lost to East Noble 38-0 on your home field to end your season last year, and then you concluded this year by winning the state championship, it's tough for me to go with anybody other than Jason Garrett. I mean, what he was able to do with his staff and support within the program in being able to make the adjustments needed, but also stay true to what Bishop Dwenger is, to not only win an SAC championship, but get back to state for the first time since 2018. You win it for the first time since 2018. To me, it's an easy choice. Jason Garrett's the guy.
How about the Onions to call that Lucas Nguyen fake field goal, right? Like, and people knew that it was a 54-yard attempt, but like Nguyen has made
that's in his range,
kicks,
right?
Like
he had missed a 52,
barely,
but
just short.
Right? I mean, barely. And my question is, we talk about the changes that Bishop Dwenger made internally, and maybe a difference in philosophy. Does the Jason Garrett of 2024 call that fake? I don't exactly know. I don't know for sure, but it's the confidence and the improvements that this program has made across the board. And I think some of the things they've done to lay the groundwork for the future, I don't think this is a one-year thing for Bishop Dwenger.
I'm embarrassed because I forgot to mention this for Player of the Year, but Lucas Nguyen has conceivably the 2 biggest plays of the season.
Sure.
The school record field goal against Carroll, which won them essentially the SAC title 9-6, and the pass for a touchdown on that fake field goal that won them the state championship. So essentially the play that won the SAC title, I mean, there's a lot that more goes into it, and the play that won the state title, like, could you say like Ewell Wilson Award winner Lucas Nguyen? Like, will we hear that at any point?
I don't think we will, but
I love it. I love it.
We always kick the kickers down, right? We don't
kickers
give them
are people too.
But in terms of impact, Yes.
2 biggest plays.
I mean, yeah, at the very least, you could say Lucas Nguyen has the play of the year, right? The fake punt pass for a touchdown.
Yeah, the only other play that I could think of, individual play, was like Maddox Wiles' touchdown catch in overtime against Snyder in the postseason that kind of established Northrop as the team that we thought they were, a very talented team in that 17-16 win. But SAC title, state title, like Lucas Nguyen, we tip our cap to him. Who else in the Coach of the Year? Because I was thinking about this before the show, and it's just kind of like your regular cast of
Usual
characters.
suspects, right?
Yeah, very much so.
It's like that, when Michael Mosier, it's like Michael Jordan MVP. Like, you could give it to him every year, but what Michael Mosier has done at Adams Central has just made the irregular regular in terms of just dominating every season. I mean, it was eye-opening when they didn't make it to state for the 5th straight season, but that doesn't take anything away from what Michael Mosier did to that team. So he's up there. You look around. I thought Paul Sade and the effort with Cherubusco this year, when you looked at Busco and said, okay, they won the NECC small division last year, but you felt like this year would be back with Eastside, and Busco gets it done. I think you have to throw a Quentin Bowen in there in terms of what Northrop was able to do. So there's other eligible, very, very fine candidates, but I go back to Jason Garrett.
I'm glad you mentioned Quentin Bowen because he was on my short list, and I thought it was the entire Northrop staff.
Sure.
The defense played well when they needed to at times. Kalen DeRosier did a great job. Obviously, you've got Dre Muhammad on staff. It doesn't hurt. He knows these guys really well. And you take a look at just the fact that Northrop's going to be one of the storylines from this season that we remember as the year they escalated because they had been moribund for such a long period of time. It just like Huntington North was last year, the ascension of Northrop, you have to tip your cap to what Quentin Bowen and those guys did.
Oh, you absolutely do. And they approved week after week that they weren't the same old Northrop. They would fall behind and come back and win games, and they'd face adversity and overcome that and win games. I think now with Northrop, we've seen it other places. We saw, Northside occasionally have a season. Wayne occasionally had a season with Scott Shaw in that single year, right? We've seen other schools in the SEC have a year, SAC here or there, particularly in Fort Wayne Community Schools, staying power. Does Northrop have staying power? Are we going to look back at this season in 2 or 3 years and say, it was a blip on the radar? Or are we going to look at it and say, that was when Northrop returned to relevance, consistency in the SAC? So I think that's the big question for Northrop now going forward.
All right, let's talk about Team of the Year. Who do you have as the Team of the Year?
I think it's the one team that won a state title.
There you go.
Bishop Dwenger.
Simplicity, sake.
I don't want to, sound like a broken record, but the one team that goes down and wins a state championship, and I keep going back to you, it had been since 2021 since this team won a sectional championship, which is an eternity for Bishop Dwenger. Not since 1997 to 2002 had they had a longer sectional drought. They win a sectional, win a regional, win a semi-state, and win a state championship. So for me, easy choice, Bishop Dwenger.
If you'd asked me at the midpoint of the season, I would have said East Noble.
Yes.
And it's a good thing we played out the rest of the season, I guess, for Bishop
Mid-season
Dwenger.
awards are mid-season for a reason.
There you go. When you take a look back at this season in its entirety, now that we've got 15 weeks in the books, what do you most remember? Like, what do you take away from this that will stick with you going forward as we talk high school football here in Northeast Indiana?
I think going forward, we'll look back and say, okay, we only had a single state champion, which is pretty good. But I think a lot of us maybe get too hyper-focused on chasing Indy that we don't appreciate how good a football we have in this area. Last year, 4 teams from the area getting to state. This year, only 2, but we had 5 playing in a semi-state, right? We could have had 5 teams playing in a state championship. So I think for us, and we focus maybe more, especially in the bigger classes, is chasing Indy, right, in 5A and 6A. And it's like, sometimes you just have to step back and look at the football in this area and appreciate it for what it is arguably maybe the most fertile 1A through 6A in the entire state. We look at Indy and it's so loaded with the 5As and 6As, right? Mm-hmm. But you put up some of our South Adams, Adams Central and stuff up against 1A. Have Lutheran down there and they battled Adams Central. But kind of the point is throughout all the classes, you could make a case that Fort Wayne is and the surrounding area is the deepest region in the state. And I think we reinforced that again this year.
Boom. Well said. There you go. You got to think big picture.
Yeah, come on. 5 teams in semi-state, get out of here.
Yeah, I was going to say we look at the small picture very often, week to week, but big picture, a lot of good football here. Justin, we appreciate all the time this season. The Insight every Monday. He's Justin Kinney. I'm Glenn Marini, and for the 2025 high school football season here in Northeast Indiana, that is Inside the Zone. We'll be back next year.
You're watching Inside the Zone.